Good morning, everyone. I wanted to welcome you to this event to announce the results of the 2014 Timpani Toy Study. It's an annual study that we do that we hope provides some guidance to teachers and caregivers as they think about the kinds of toys that they want to invest in for preschool-age children. My name's Julia DeLapp, and I'm the program coordinator for the Center for Early Childhood Education here at Eastern. The mission of our center is to enhance the quality of care and education for young children, both in Connecticut and nationally. And we work toward that goal by conducting research, such as the Timpani study, and also by providing professional development to current and future teachers. And we use video extensively in achieving those two aims. To date, our center has produced nearly 60 videos that demonstrate best practice in working with young children. And we are committed to continuing to make those videos available for free on our website to help teachers and caregivers provide the best possible care and education that they can for young children. Those videos have been used in Connecticut, but also all over the world in countries as far away as Saudi Arabia and India. We are also very committed to involving students in research and pre-professional experiences. And today you're going to hear about 5 undergraduate students who were involved in the Timpani Toy Study. And I'd also like to point out that we have another study going on right now that involves an additional 4 students involved. So that's something we try to do on a regular basis. We also engage communication students in helping to produce the videos, including the one that you're going to see today. And I think it's these kinds of experiences that are part of what makes a liberal arts education at Eastern very unique and special. And we hope it really, truly prepares our graduates for their future careers, whether that is to work with young children or to be behind a video camera. We could not engage in this work without the support of Eastern's senior leaders, and we are especially grateful to our president for her ongoing commitment to the research that we do here. So I would like to introduce our president now to give some opening remarks. Please join me in welcoming President Elsa Nunez.
So we presidents are notorious for taking credit for everything. And we should take credit for very little because it's always the people at the ground level behind the scenes like Julia DeLapp, the program coordinator, that makes a study like this possible. So I want to thank Julia on behalf of the Eastern community for all she does for the Center for Early Childhood. So thank you for being here today as we announce the results of the 6th annual Timpani Toy Study. This study has become a real tradition at Eastern, 6 years in a row. I didn't even think we could get it off the ground, and here we are. We have many traditions on our campus, and each has its own personality. For instance, last week we celebrated our 8th annual Day of Giving, and that's a wonderful day, Wednesday before Thanksgiving, when the students, the faculty, and the staff honor those less fortunate by providing a special holiday meal. In addition, we conduct a canned good drive on campus, and our local community has come to depend on us for the meal and for the food drive. In fact, the food drive provides food for the community up until almost July. The Day of Giving is a dependable, steady, generous tradition that we have at Eastern. The Timpani study is another type of Eastern tradition. It's innovative, it's exploratory, it's provocative. And I'm told this year we will be hearing of some new unexpected research results. This study has garnered national media attention across our country for the past 6 years. And last year we learned that it is being used as an educational model in Turkey. So we went international last year. We went viral about 3 years ago. Now we're international. This is indeed wonderful news. But international acclaim is not why we conduct the study of preschool toys. We do it to help guide preschool teachers, parents, and others in selecting toys for their children that promote intellectual growth, social interaction, and creativity. Too much emphasis is placed on technology and not on the toy itself. In the process, we have been able to give our early childhood education students an excellent opportunity to conduct empirical research under the tutelage of early childhood education professor, the endowed chair, Jeffrey Trawick-Smith. Jeffrey is an international scholar on children's play. I cannot think of a better mentor for the student researchers who conduct the Timpani Toy Study. Jeff, as I said, has an international reputation for his research and writing in the areas of children's play and its impact on early childhood development. The The most wonderful gift he has is that he wants to share his research and research capability with our students. He loves children. He's passionate about the dynamics of playtime, and his enthusiasm and professionalism rubs off on all of us. In addition to Jeff, I want to congratulate our 6 student researchers on this year's study. It's Kristen Kraus, Alyssa Zabrowski, Kimberly DePaolis, Danny Meskel, and Heather Oski. They're to be commended for their painstaking data collection and analysis, as well as their commitment to young children. This is precision, day after day, observing the children and taking down detailed notes about the children's play. I also want to thank again Julia for all her support and guidance. With professionals like Jeff and Julia, we have been able to share the knowledge they and our students gain with early childhood professionals throughout the region and our nation. Before I ask Jeffrey Trawick-Smith to announce this year's winning toy, I want to encourage the news media to present to visit the Early Childhood Center. It's a wonderful thing. Go in the tree. If you go in the tree, you'll see that there's a video that shows on the top of the ceiling of the tree, and the children absolutely love it. The center is right beyond the door behind you, where you'll be able to see the timpani toys in action before the children have lunch and go down for their naps. Again, thank you all for coming today. And Jeff, please come to the podium and announce the toys. I can't hardly wait because I got to go shopping tonight. Thank you.
So eloquent always. I always have to point out that she's very modest about this, but President Nunez was the person who conceptualized this whole idea of having a study of toys that was scientific, not just an award, something that is picked out of by experts, but something that's based on real science. So I always have to acknowledge your inspiration for all of this. I have a couple of things. You mentioned the students, but I'm going to make them stand up so that we can all applaud, and then also so that those in the press, if you want to really hear about this study, these are the folks that you should be talking to because they carried this out. They know the toys well, and I would urge you to seek them out. So would you all stand? It's Kim DePolis and Heather Oski, Alyssa Zabrowski, and I don't know if anybody else is here, but the three of them will be. They'll be happy to answer your questions, I guess, but they're going to whether they're happy about it or not. So, no, they're just wonderful students. And I do have to point out that we just came back from Dallas, where our students presented in a ballroom full of people. Actually, they did 3 presentations because this group also did a major study in Hartford where we were looking at children's play and mathematical thinking. So these are pretty seasoned researchers. I did want to this year kind of just comment on why we do this year after year and why it's kind of important. I think that the way to sum it up, and some of my students here who I have in class know that I believe this, it's because play matters. Play really does matter, that children's play behaviors predict children's intellectual development, social development, emotional development. I know some of you, my students, have seen these before, but whenever I want to comment on the importance of play, why it's really critical for children to do this, a couple of photos come to mind, and I just want to share those for a moment. This is a photo from the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation website. And what you see here are children in Madagascar, which is arguably one of the poorest areas in the world. And if you look carefully, you could see that they're playing. It looks like a Madagascar version of a tea party. And even though these kids are living in poverty, they may be hungry, going through a really, really challenging life, still they need to play. It's like breathing or eating. In fact, I've met children who would prefer to play than to eat. Another photo was shared with me by a scholar who does research on children in hospitals. This is a little girl who's obviously very sick, but what is she doing? She's playing. So you can see, once again, it's the way children cope, and it's just probably the most wonderful part of childhood. I do have to say, this is maybe a little less upbeat, that children in poverty, we know, have fewer opportunities to play for a variety of reasons. One is they may live in unsafe neighborhoods. When my kids were young and I would let them run outside, I never stopped to think that there's some children whose families feel uncomfortable doing that because it's, maybe a dangerous neighborhood. Pressure to catch up is threatening play, particularly for children in poverty. There was a really interesting study that was done recently in Florida where they found that children in poverty have far less time to play in school. And the reason for that is that we're really drilling these kids because we want them to catch up academically. And yet what we're doing is we're depriving them of opportunities to play. Family stresses, of course, when you work 2 jobs and you're really under a great deal of stress, you may not be the most active, enjoyable playmate to your children at home. And then finally, and this gets to our TIMPANI study, I think that there probably are fewer really effective, imaginative, mindful toys that children have access to. Some of it is some of these toys are pretty expensive. So the net effect, the consequence, is that we find now that children in poverty play in a less complex way. Sometimes they don't play at all. And this has become yet another area where I think children living in poverty may be falling behind. So what do we do about this? Well, I think there's some things that TIMPANI contributes to resolving this problem. We have found that children whose families are of low socioeconomic status play at a very high quality, in some cases at a higher quality level than middle-class kids, with certain kinds of toys. So this is an example of how our findings have really kind of contributed to thinking about, working with kids of this socioeconomic group. Just to give some examples, magnetiles, these strange little rainbow people, blocks, and then Duplos one year. If you look, there's some commonalities among these. These are basic. Often they're building toys. They're not always realistic, but they do have certain features that seem to promote the play of children of all backgrounds. So I sort of feel, just to kind of finish on this, that some of the implications of our work, at least in relation to children in poverty, are to try to seek out toys that really inspire the play of children, particularly those in low-income neighborhoods, that we should be initiating home toy lending programs, kind of like we do books. We often will take bags of books into children's homes, but how nice it would be to also provide a nice set of hardwood blocks for families to use for a time. And then finally, I think that we as professionals, those of you who are preparing to be teachers, should be kind of helping families to identify low-cost but really high-quality toys to use with their children. So those are just some thoughts I have, that are kind of based on our, our research to date. But we have to get to the reason you're here is you want to find out what we've discovered. This was a really tough one this year. President Nunez mentioned that there's some kind of unusual findings, but it's science. However it comes out is the way it comes out. I do have to mention that there were 4 toys that scored so high on at least one area of play that they really all deserve some mention. And then from that 4, we found 2 that promoted the highest level of play. The 2014 TIMPANI toys are the easel and the little toy cars. It was kind of interesting, the reaction of people. Those cars have been around forever. Once again, sort of a classic toy that does very well. The double easel, I think, it's pretty obvious why there's so much social interaction and creativity when 2 children can use it.